Hi, I'm Erica. Welcome to your first class of the Deep Release. In today's class, we'll be releasing the back body so that we can let go of what is behind us and open to all the potential that lies ahead. So for today's session, you will need a set of therapy balls and you will need a block and a blanket. In the deep release method, I always begin in Shavasana to remind us of just that. Let go of what's behind and awaken to the present moment, the feelings and sensations of the body so that we can explore, grow, change, and transform. So like I always do, let's come onto our backs into Shavasana to begin. As you make your way there, please make sure you have all your props with you because I'm going to give you a few variations to set up for this posture. So I'm going to take my two therapy balls and bring them right to the occiput, that ridge right along the back of the head where the skull sits on the spine. And this is the control center of the body. So when we put the balls there, it's like a total reboot. So there's two ways to do this. And I want you to try and see which one feels better for you. You can take the balls right on top of a block. If you're going to do this method, they have to be within a tote or tucked in a towel. If they're separate, they tend to roll out. So here's the first method. It's a little firmer, but what I've tended to love lately is to make it a little bit more soft and supportive. The body doesn't need a lot to let go. It actually prefers soft, nurturing, supportive pressure. Think of a warm, really tight hug, especially if a young child or baby's crying. You really hold them up tight and then they go, our body's the same way. So we'll be working with that child version of ourselves. So take the ball inside the blanket if you want to try this method and roll it up so that it creates a bit of a thick pillow. And then the balls will also be soft. And this will bring us into our first posture and our Shavasana to begin. Legs can be long. They can be in Supta Baddha Konasana, or they can even rest on a bolster if that feels right to you. So come on to your backs. Find that just right spot. Unhinge the jaw. Even wiggle it, open and close it. Take a big breath in and surrender down to the ground. And then gently close the eyes. Maybe even blink them a couple times so that when they rest to close, they rest close in a soft way so that the eyes can sink into the back of the eye sockets. The tongue can sink back in the mouth. The jaw can drop. And the brain can even drop to the back wall of the skull. And we begin in this total surrender. And as we let go, we find our way to a place that feels safe, secure, and where we feel supported so we can allow the body to rest into ease. So feel into all those places where the body meets the earth. And let all those places be just a little bit more heavy. Feel that big exhalation of the body, making that shift from that sympathetic fight or flight on. Nervous system to that rest, digest, restore. So the body can start to let go of anything it no longer needs. Take a few more minutes to give the body the opportunity to rest, to integrate, and unwind. And then start the self-inquiry. In this practice, we're doing an internal practice. So inquire, what can I let go of? And imagine that just falling off of you and sinking down into the ground. Like you're putting down a weight. And when you feel like you've let that go, take the props out from behind the head and let the head rest to the ground. And now taking the therapy balls, let them come out of the tote if they were in one. And let's keep with that theme of letting go of whatever we're carrying that we no longer need. And so often we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. So what we'll do next is one of my favorite postures. We're going to take the balls right under the upper trap. So if you take your hand and squeeze that bulky muscle at the top of the shoulder, you'll feel like you can squeeze it. And with your fingers in the back, you'll find that there's almost a little shelf that you can place the ball on so that the muscle rests right on top of the ball, as if the ball replaces the fingers. So go ahead and create that shelf for the upper traps to rest on. And then find your block. The blanket will do too, but I like the block for this variation. So the balls are separated from one another. They're not right next to the spine. They're in that muscular, meaty area in the tops of the shoulders. And make sure that you move them around so you get that just right spot. You might not feel it a ton yet, and that's okay because we have 2 more progressions to really get the fullness of this sequence. So now take the hips up onto the block. Maybe start with the lowest segment if you haven't done this before. And even if you have, it's good to go in progression. So from there, maybe if you're still not feeling quite enough, lift the hips to the middle height. I would stay on the middle height. Make sure it feels stable. If you have skinny blocks, if you have 2 blocks that are foam and kind of skinny, instead of putting on the side height, I like to usually stack them on the low height on top of one another. That's a great option too. And then now you feel, oh yeah, a bit more weight into those shoulders. And now come back into the sensation of the body after moving and feel how you're in an inversion. And take a breath in. And as you exhale, sigh it out and visualize that breath like a waterfall just washing down the body right out the tops of the shoulders and the crown of the head. Feel how gravity assists the letting go through the body in this position. So with each exhalation, just let go a little bit more, allowing the breath, allowing gravity, and allowing time to be the drivers of this release so that you can take that weight that you're carrying off your shoulders. Visualizing yourself removing that backpack or that heavy load that you're carrying. Allow the body to cascade into the floor. And from here, maybe this feels right to stay, or maybe you need to adjust the therapy balls a little bit. Or maybe you just take your arms now up overhead like a lazy ballerina or a big sun, and let the arms drop back towards the floor, really feeling now how this position creates even more pressure. And this position is so, so important in this release because it's literally like taking off that backpack. It's what we're doing by bringing the arms overhead. It's like we're removing a stretch from a rubber band and allowing that rubber band that has tension on it to soften and then ultimately return to its resting shape. So we'll spend about a minute and a half or so in this position. And as we rest here, think about bringing all of your awareness to that place where the balls and body meet. And focusing on the exhale, visualize that breath cascading down the body like a waterfall, washing away any tension that you no longer need. Washing away whatever's past. Letting go of what's behind you. Let out a few big sighs. Notice what's happening in your jaw. Maybe you can even let a gentle smile come across your face, into your cheeks and your eyes. Welcoming with that smile the felt sense of being at ease. Remembering to let yourself drop into the ground behind you. You are supported. Like you're letting go into the embrace of Mother Earth, the hug of a mother. Just let the body become soft. Absolutely nothing to do, nothing to change. Simply allowing this time and gravity to allow the body to start to let go, unwind, and release deeply into support, remembering our essential well-being. Take one more big breath. Let the arms snow angel down towards the sides. Press your feet into the floor to lift the hips and allow the hips to lower gently. take the therapy balls out from behind the shoulders. Just let the arms down, feeling how your shoulders drop back a little bit more into the floor now. Maybe there's a sense of lightness or spaciousness, even an emptiness. Welcome whatever you're feeling. Notice if there's any anticipation or anxiety building, wanting to go on to what's next. Can you just allow yourself to be here in this moment? Not being pulled to the past or the future, but rest just as you are. Integrating the benefits of the practice, feeling a new sense of openness, spaciousness, and in that maybe even finding that smile of contentment. When that sensation subsides, find your therapy balls again. You can keep them out of the tote or put them back into the tote. If you're newer at this, or if you have even bulky clothing, it's probably good to have it in the tote because it's going to help keep the balls together. Now what we'll do is we'll move down from the head, basically that central processing unit and that nervous system control that we've just allowed to surrender and let go, and work from the center of that system down along the spine, getting all the nerves as they exit the spine and unwinding the spine so it can move freely so that the nervous system can be at ease. We're going to go in the same direction we've started, going top to bottom, which is opposite of what I normally do. So take the balls right into the upper back. And now you're going to use your feet and your pelvis to help you. I'm going to start with the pelvis, and I'm going to roll the pelvis forward and back, tipping the pelvis so that I get a few segments at a time. And the spine has 3 planes of motion. It moves forward and back, so this pelvic mobility is going to help release that. It moves side to side, which would be a side bend. We can reach down with one arm and then the other, so we get a little side bend. Or we can even take the hands behind the head, letting the head rest. Get a little shift of the elbows. Make sure it's not a crunching action. Make sure it's this fluid, soft exploration. So we move from that earth element of safety and support into this exploration, this sort of curiosity and this fluid letting go. And then the last direction we did front to back, side to side, and then there's a twist. So maybe you give yourself a hug and it's like you're rocking from one ball to the other. And you'll find that you only get a couple of segments at a time, and that's okay. And then when you're ready to move on, you can just push through your feet, bump your balls, come a little lower, or you can literally just take the balls and place them in the next spot. So let's try those 3 directions again. Forward and back, tipping the pelvis, using the pelvis as the driver, making sure the hair is not getting caught. Like the hands behind the head to do the side to side when I'm higher. And it's like I'm reaching overhead with one elbow and then the other. And then while the hands are here, actually, let's play with that forward and back motion again, but using the head as the driver. So you might stick the chest out, stick the elbows back, and then instead of lifting like a crunch, think about rolling up because we're trying to create a rounding. So bring the chin to your chest, to the balls, just going to that point and then lowering back down, so that we're stretching the segments above the ball. Careful not to pull on the head. And you might even get the pelvis and upper back moving together, arching both from the pelvis and from the elbows. So you get a nice round from both directions, and then get a little twist. And then keep working down. I'm just going to move the balls so that I stay on the center of my mat for you. but it's okay if you roll your way off the mat. That's fine. And now I'm going to do less talking and I'm going to let you play with the arching and the rounding. Making sure you breathe. Maybe inhale on the extension and exhale on the round. With the side to side, you can still reach with the elbows, or as you get a little lower, you can also just reach with the hands, hand reach to opposite heel, but I really like the head supported. And then give yourself a tight hug and just wobble, rock back and forth from side to side. And maybe you find that, oh, I just want to be still and stay in one place. That is totally fine too. Find that just right spot and just allow yourself to go, and just sink in there. And you feel that if you give yourself the time to sink, it's like those tissues just melt away. That tension just becomes fluid. The texture of the tissues changes and any tension just starts to flow away. So keep working your way down, making sure you get down below the ribs now, arching and rounding. You can try just moving the upper body, just moving the lower body. This is a little less intense. Just moving the pelvis. And then sliding side to side, opening the gills of the ribs on one side and then the other. And then twisting. Keep on going until you get all the way down to the bottom of the spine. No rush. Take your time. And as you get into the low back, when you come to do the rotation, it might feel that moving the upper body, like you're giving yourself a hug, doesn't do it anymore. So you might find, ooh, I'm going to rock and lead with my knees, rocking from one side to the other, coming into a little twist. That will feel really nice. You might even find that when you twist with the balls in the low back, that it feels good to just stay there for a few breaths. And again, if you stay, just wait for that or that sensation of softening and exhaling. There might even be a belly gurgle, which is also an excellent sign of myofascial release. And then when the balls have made their way down to the bottom of your spine, take the balls with your hands and place them right onto the sacrum. In the back of the pelvis, just below the spine, there's the triangular bone, the sacrum, that makes up the back wall of the pelvis. To find this, you can find those little dimples, and that's exactly where the balls will go. Another way to find this and to sense the mobility of this area better, take your hands and make a triangle. Your index fingers make the tip of the triangle, and then now it points downward on your pelvis so that your index fingers come to your pubic bone and the heel of your hands come to your front hip points. And then the the thumbs will just hit about 2 inches below the belly, and you'll feel that's about where the balls are. And now you'll start to move the pelvis forward and back, sticking the butt out like you're wagging your tail, pressing into the balls, and then scooping the tailbone up like you're scooping up towards your knees. Start to mobilize these fused bones at the base of the spine. And it's like you're swinging along the back of the sacrum. I like to visualize it sometimes like a rocking chair. So I'm going to the front of the rockers as I arch in that rocking chair, and going to the back of the rockers as I scoop. And this gentle rocking motion is soothing to the whole nervous system. Again, helping us to move into that state of rest and restoration. Allow yourself to breathe deeply and even connect your breath with the movement, inhaling as you arch, exhaling as you round. Making sure that movement's coming from the pelvis. So feel the pelvis driving under your hands. To see if it's coming from somewhere else, maybe you just move your hands to your ribs for a moment and notice if it's the ribs that are popping out into your hand to make the motion. If so, just try to soften the ribs and isolate the motion in the hips and the pelvis at the base of the spine. And then finally, allow the therapy balls to come out from behind your hips, letting the sacrum drop into the floor, resting into Shavasana for a moment, integrating that sequence, feeling now how the entire spine can rest into the ground. And with this new awareness and new segmental mobility, we'll now come into our first yin posture to work on the gross mobility into spinal flexion. So roll to your side, press yourself up, and now come and sit on your blanket or a bolster if you have one, and make your way to a butterfly position. You might even want to have your block nearby. I think this is a great prop for this next posture. And I'm going to sit with my hips up so I have just a little bit more space. And in this variation, my legs are like a diamond. I'm not tucking my feet really close, but I'm making a diamond shape with my legs so that as I come forward, my face will land about where my feet are. And as I come into this, I want to think of that same cascading or waterfall effect that we got on our back. So let the head roll to the chest. See if you can feel the head roll off the neck. Then the neck roll off the shoulders. Then think about rounding through the chest. Like one segment is falling off of the other. Let your hands slide down the legs until you come to this first edge or this first place of resistance. Be really conscious of not pushing past resistance to try to get further. You're going to get at least a good 2 minutes in this posture. Usually in yin postures, we hold them for about 3 or sometimes even more to let this posture start to evolve as the body lets go and unwinds. If you feel like you're holding the head up, or maybe you don't even realize you're holding the head up,
Intentionally just tuck the chin towards the chest for a minute to remember that spinal flexion in the upper segments. And notice how maybe even in that intentional tucking of the chin, you feel it all the way down your back. And then go ahead, let go of that tension of tucking and let the head just hang. Maybe you even shake it no and gently nod it yes to let go of any holding. If it feels uncomfortable with the head unsupported, you can take your block to prop the head, or you could take your blanket to prop the head, or maybe even place your blanket on top of the block. Find a place that feels sensational but sustainable. If the sensation starts to escalate or increase or become unbearable as you hold here, then you've gone too far. So back up, maybe even come all the way out if you feel like you're fighting the posture or the sensation, and then come back in with the attention to sensation, stopping before that comes about, finding again that place like you're dipping your toes into the water of sensation where you're being curious, but you feel safe and supported. So you're not diving in and then getting burnt. So find that spot that feels just right, and then you'll get used to it and you'll realize, oh, I can exhale deeply or feel that spontaneous exhalation and go a little bit more. Notice what happened to the head. Maybe gently just do a few nods and a little no. Even wiggle the jaw. And then even look down with your eyes maybe towards your belly button for a moment, using that drishti to bring you more inside of yourself. And then as you come into this seed shape, ask yourself again, can I let go of what's behind me? Or what am I letting go of? And as we start to let go and make space, maybe we start to ask ourselves, what am I making space for? What am I opening to? Take about 3 more breaths here. Making sure that you allow a nice big sigh. Feeling the fullness of this posture. And then to come out, move slowly. Use your hands and the support of the ground to help you. Press your hands into the floor, walking them up the thighs, keeping the head down till it's the last thing. And when it's on top of the spine, gently look up. But try to keep the awareness close to you, not getting distracted by what's in the room around you. And then use your hands to fold your knees together and maybe give yourself a little hug. And just feel the echo of that.
The body needs time after doing a posture to integrate it. So notice what you feel in the space between. Maybe there's a pulsation or a vibration or a flushing or a warmth. Maybe there's even a rush of emotion as what we hold in our tissues is allowed to leave our bodies, to become unstuck. Whatever arises, allow it to be there just as it is. And now we'll come into the lower body portion, continuing that progression from the top down, like we're just draining our bodies out. And for this, we'll come into a variation of child's pose. We'll take these therapy balls, and you could use the standard size, and some people like the plus size better. So find what works for you. And take them right behind the knees, into the creases of the knees. And you'll do that in hands and knees. And then from there, start to sit yourself back. I like to keep my legs in a neutral child's pose, not going wide, but keeping the thighs neutral so that the bones of the thighs and the lower legs are just in a neutral position. And then I'll start to come down to the ground. Again, the block or the blanket might be nice, or the back of your hands, because you might find it's a little bit hard to come into this. And this is a great place to practice finding the edge, which is a classic saying in yin yoga. So we'll come into sensation and find something that's sensational that allows us to be curious and start to explore, but staying out of the pushing and the forcing. And then it's like, as you come up to that edge, it starts to dissolve. And as you spend time there and to get to know those edges and those barriers and what stops us, kind of like what holds us back. So think about this letting go of what is behind us as reins holding us back. We can let go of that. And then we can start to explore new ranges. And again, in that sense of curiosity, maybe there's a little side to side movement to ease in, like a gentle rocking into that space behind the thighs. How can you let go just 5% more? Where are you holding on to tension in the physical body? What's happening in the jaw, the eyes, tops of the shoulders? What's happening in the energetic body? Can you feel the quality of the breath? How can you let gravity be your friend? And in this letting go, like the leaves falling off the trees, or a seed dropping from a plant that already bore its fruit, allow yourself to drop into the floor, feeling how this surrendering and this emptying and this letting go is the potential. It's the beginning again.
is setting the stage for what lies ahead. And remembering that, repeat to yourself if it feels right, may I let go of what's behind me? And then just adjusting slightly, take the balls and move them back a little bit into the middle bulky part of the calf. And now you'll find that as you move into the bulky part of the calf, if you lie down, there's not too much sensation. So we'll work our way up. Maybe take your block to place your hands on for a little external support. And start to make your way up towards more of a kneeling position. And you might find, again, as you play that edge, as you explore the sensation, it would feel nice to lean into the support in front of you. And again, maybe there's a gentle side to side rocking. And I love this place because when you finally allow yourself to, you can really feel how the tissues move away from one another. And then the ball, you sink more into the ball, or the ball sinks deeper into the tissues. So find that place that's sensational but sustainable without forcing. No gritting of your teeth. If you find yourself doing that, unweight yourself from the balls a little bit by leaning into your support, chair, block. Maybe if there's any harshness, that sense of efforting or fighting, maybe bring in that fluid nature of just rocking side to side. Noticing if there's any tension in the jaw, the eyes, the shoulders. What's happening in the breath. Focusing on that exhalation as a reminder to let go. If you find yourself irritable, follow that breath right into the ground. Exhaling and sinking. And then remove the therapy balls, coming into one more variation here. We'll come into a Yogi Toe Stand. So now coming into more of the feet and the ankles. And the big toes are that very first part of that posterior chain. So coming from literally the top of the head right down to the big toes. Walk the big toes together and tuck them underneath you. And then start to sit up onto your heels. Again, move slowly. You might find that you only get to here. Hands can be on the thighs. Hands can be on a chair. How can you make this sustainable? How can you play that edge of sensation to get that just right spot that allows you to be curious and stay? Maybe you start to notice your regular patterns coming up. Do you get fidgety? Do you tense and try to tough it out? Do you find that you're pushing beyond where your body is telling you to go? Try not to judge, just notice these patterns. And in noticing, we can start to recognize them.
And in recognizing them, ultimately let go of these too if they no longer serve us. Make this sustainable. Make this content by bringing a smile across your face as you hold here for the next 3 or so breaths. How can you be content? Bring ease, bring lightness into this quite challenging place for the next 2 breaths. Finish the full exhalation. And then lean forward to tap the feet out. And we'll come into our last yin posture for the session. We'll come into a seated forward fold. And there's a couple ways you could do this. I'm going to do it like this. You can take a support underneath your hips. And I like this because it just allows the pelvis, like that tipping of the pelvis we were working on, to cascade forward just a little bit more to make it easier to turn inward. And now I'm going to suggest bending the knees and taking the chest to the knees for today. If you want, you can even take another blanket or blocks underneath the thighs. That might feel really nice. I might even start that way. And then I'm going to start to gently move my heels outward.
And then let the head be heavy again. Integrating the lower body now with the upper body. So don't forget what we did in that seated butterfly. If you find that the props are preventing you from finding that sensational edge, that place that makes you curious, maybe remove the props. If you need support for your head, if the head doesn't come to the legs, maybe place a blanket or a prop there. What do you need to allow yourself to surrender completely? In yin, we call this posture caterpillar. In that it represents a complete surrender or letting go. Like the caterpillar turning into its cocoon. Can you let go of that previous version of yourself, that prior life? Maybe you notice here what's holding you back. What's keeping you from doing that? When you ask yourself, can I let go of what's behind me? Maybe what keeps coming up are all those things that are keeping you from letting go. And that's okay. Don't fight it. Meet them all with kindness. Welcome everything that's arising just as it is. Taking about 5 more breaths here. Let go just 1% more with each exhalation. Even pausing at the end of the exhalation, feeling that sense of emptiness between the breaths. Exhaling, emptying, pausing in the emptiness, waiting for the next inhalation to come. Taking 2 more breaths. Taking that pause. Allowing the body to completely reset itself. And when you feel complete, like you have finished, and there's nothing left to let go of, start to let this posture unravel and let go too, by bringing the hands to the ground, walking yourself up, letting the head be the last thing to come up, moving slowly. Scooting forward off your blanket if you're on one. And then taking the hands behind the knees, just engaging the core slightly as you roll down onto your back, seeing if you can feel the length of every segment as the back comes down to the ground. And resting into your final Shavasana. Staying here and making yourself as comfortable as possible. Maybe you find a support behind your knees, or a blanket, or a pillow. What do you need to allow the body to let go completely? Scanning the body one last time, remembering that you are supported, returning to the support, even the embrace of the earth beneath you. Allow the left heel, calf, thigh, hip, entire left leg to be heavy, supported and at ease. Right heel, calf, thigh, hip, whole right leg, be heavy, supported and at ease. Both legs heavy and supported, completely at rest. Sensing the sacrum, pelvis, low back, abdomen, mid-back, rib cage, upper back, chest, back of the left shoulder,
left arm, hands and fingers, right shoulder, right arm, hands and fingers, both arms heavy, relaxed, and at ease. Softening around the throat, jaw, teeth, tongue, the entire mouth and jaw, resting into ease. Sensing the left ear, right ear, both ears softening and opening, resting any strain to hear. Simply allowing the openings of the ears to welcome any sound just as it is. Sensing the left eye, eyebrow, temple, bridge of the nose, the eye within the eye socket, heavy, relaxed and at ease. The right eye, eyebrow, temple, bridge of the nose, eye within the eye socket, the entire right eye heavy and at ease. Both eyes resting, dropping, moving into the earth, feeling the eyeballs rest into the eye sockets, sensing the forehead, crown of the head, back of the head, the entire surface of the head. And then sensing the brain inside the skull, allowing the brain to be heavy, brain dropping away from the inside of the forehead, resting into the floor. Allowing the entire body now, front, back, left, right, inside and outside. The entire body completely supported, resting into ease. Letting go into spaciousness, letting go into openness. Letting everything be just as it is. Resting with yourself just as you are. Feeling any last places of tension in the body, bring your awareness to that place of tension, observing what tension feels like. Without trying to change it, simply note. And then bring your awareness to a place in your body where it feels like it's completely at ease. And then go back to that area of tension, moving between tension and ease, feeling the opposites, sensing one and then sensing the other. And then when you're ready, welcome both sensations simultaneously at the same time. Noticing everything now that's in your awareness. Sensing your vast, spacious, open awareness, capable of holding everything. Sensing your changing sensations as movements in this unchanging awareness. Sensations coming and going. Yet awareness unchanged. Let yourself become that unchanging awareness. Spacious and open. Welcoming everything just as it is. Welcoming yourself just as you are. No need to change anything. Recalling now this journey that we've gone on, this intention of letting go of what's behind us. Remember the sensations, the feelings, everything that we explored. And as you awaken into this newness, new body, new awareness, new moment, maybe recall this intention or set a new intention to carry you back into your daily life. And as you're ready, gently roll to your side, sensing the body, feeling your edges, feeling gravity give you weight and shape. Then pressing down into the ground that gives us support with every movement. Rise up into your internal strength, bringing your hands to center. Acknowledging that part in you that is unchanging. That part of you that's perfect and whole just as it is. And as we move from this practice, may we let those parts that cover this wholeness, this light that shines within you, may we let those things that cover it fall away. Take one more breath in. Let that breath out, letting go of what's behind, letting go of this practice, taking everything we've learned and moving forward. Namaste.